The examination hall smelled like fear and recycled air. I'm Instructor Vrellix, and in my 12 cycles of teaching combat theory at the Galactic Military Academy, I'd seen plenty of nervous cadets. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened that day. Let me set the scene for you. 23 students sat in perfectly aligned rows, their various appendages twitching as they stared at their examination screens. We had Quellan delegates, 2 Fraxian warriors in training, a bunch of Telkorian scholars, and 1 human. Just one. His name was Marcus Webb, and he sat in the back corner with this unsettling little smile on his face. The test was simple, honestly. Question 17 specifically asked, list 3 viable methods to neutralize a hostile target in a zero-gravity environment. Standard stuff. We expected answers like depressurization, magnetic pulse weapons, or thermal displacement. You know, normal things that normal species think about. I was making my rounds, tablet in hand, monitoring their progress through the neural link. Everything seemed fine. Boring, even. The Quellans were writing textbook answers. The Fraxians were being overly aggressive, as usual, but within acceptable parameters. Then I passed by Marcus Webb's station. The human was typing fast, really fast, and his screen was already scrolling. That should have been my first warning sign, but curiosity got the better of me. I glanced at his display, expecting maybe 4 or 5 answers. You know how some overachievers like to show off. He'd written 30 distinct methods. My tertiary heart skipped a beat. I leaned closer, careful not to disturb him, and started reading. Method 1 was relatively tame. Something about using a fire extinguisher as a propulsion device to slam the target into a bulkhead. Clever, I suppose, if a bit crude. Method 2 involved depressurization, which was expected. Method 3 discussed weaponizing maintenance tools. Still within the realm of sanity. Then I got to Method 4. Introduce a small amount of water into the target's helmet ventilation system, it read. The surface tension in zero gravity will cause the water to form a sphere over the breathing apparatus. Target will instinctively inhale. Water will coat the inside of the trachea. Drowning in space, even with air present, because humans can drown in as little as 2 tablespoons of liquid. My vision went spotty. My primary lung seized up. He just casually described how to drown someone in the vacuum of space with almost no resources. The precision was terrifying. The casual tone was worse. He even included estimated time to incapacitation. 45 to 90 seconds, depending on panic response. I should have stopped reading. By all the moons of Krethax, I should have walked away right then, but I didn't. Method 5 detailed using loose cable ties as garrotes, complete with diagrams on pressure points across 17 different known species anatomies. How did he even know about Quellan vascular structure? That's classified medical information. Method 6 involved freezing condensation on exposed metal and using the ice shards as projectiles. Method 7 was about magnetic boot malfunctions. Method 8 discussed oxygen mixture manipulation. By Method 12, I was gripping the desk for support. He'd written an entire paragraph about using reflective surfaces to concentrate ambient light into a focused beam hot enough to cut through standard issue EVA suits. Method 15 made my secondary stomach contents threaten to make a reappearance. Something about using the iron in blood as a ferromagnetic conductor if exposed to certain equipment. I'm not even going to elaborate on that one. The human kept typing. His fingers never stopped moving. His expression never changed from that mild, slightly amused look, like he was writing a grocery list instead of a comprehensive guide to creative murder. Method 20 discussed spatial disorientation techniques. Method 21 involved biological contamination. Method 22 was about percussive maintenance tools used in non-maintenance ways. My knees went weak at Method 24. It involved common food preservation methods and airlocks. I'll spare you the details, but let's just say Marcus Webb had clearly thought about this before. Extensively. The other students were finishing up, checking their work, maybe adding a sentence here or there to their 3 answers. 3 sensible, predictable, adequately violent answers. Marcus was on method 28, describing something involving thermal regulators and rapid temperature cycling that would cause cellular rupture at the molecular level. He included formulas. Actual mathematical formulas. In a combat theory exam I tried to take a breath. My respiratory system wasn't cooperating. The room tilted sideways, and I realized I was falling. The last thing I saw before my vision went completely dark was Marcus Webb, still typing, completely oblivious to the instructor collapsing 3 feet away from him that he was on method 29 that I hit the floor hard. Someone screamed. Multiple someones, actually. There was a scrambling of feet, chairs scraping, concern chattering in 6 different languages, and through it all, I swear I heard the soft clicking of keys as that human finished his answer. Part 2. I woke up in the medical bay with 3 concerned faces hovering over me. Dr. Vrellix, a Telcorian medic, was scanning my vitals with equipment that beeped way too loudly. Assistant Dean Vorfis stood at the foot of the bed, all 4 of his eyes narrowed in what I'd learned to recognize as confusion. And standing awkwardly near the door, looking genuinely worried, was Marcus Webb, the human who'd just written a masterclass in creative violence. Instructor Vrellix. Dr. Vrellix's voice was too cheerful for someone who just scraped an unconscious professor off the examination hall floor. Your cardiac rhythms are stabilizing. What happened? Did you skip morning nutrition again? I pointed a shaking appendage at Marcus. Him. His exam. Question 17. Vorfis's expression shifted from confused to interested. The combat scenario question? What about it? He wrote 30 answers, I croaked. 30? The assistant dean's skepticism was obvious. The question asked for 3. I'm aware of what the question asked. My voice came out higher than intended. I wrote the question. He wrote 30 distinct, detailed, horrifyingly practical methods to neutralize a target in zero gravity. Marcus cleared his throat. In my defense, sir, the question didn't specify a maximum number of answers. I thought showing comprehensive knowledge would demonstrate better understanding of the subject matter. The audacity. The absolute, unshakable audacity of this species. Vorfis pulled out his tablet and accessed the examination files. His face went through several color changes as he scrolled. Purple to green to a sickly yellow that Telcorians only get when they're deeply disturbed. Method 4, he whispered. I know, I replied. Method 15. I know. Is method 22 actually possible? Vorfis looked up, his expression somewhere between horrified and impressed. Marcus shifted his weight. Well, theoretically yes. The torque ratio on a standard 0G wrench combined with the momentum conservation in a frictionless environment would generate enough force to, should I stop talking? Yes, Vorfis and I said simultaneously. Dr. Vrellix, who'd been reading over the assistant dean's shoulder, made a choking sound. He cited medical journals for method 18. Peer-reviewed medical journals. How does a combat cadet have access to xenobiology research papers? The Academy Library? Marcus offered helpfully. They're publicly available if you know which databases to search. Vorfis sat down heavily in the chair beside my bed. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The only sound was the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment and the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Finally, the assistant dean looked at Marcus. Why 30? The human shrugged, an odd gesture his species does that involves raising their shoulders. I got into a flow state. Once I started thinking about the problem, solutions just kept coming. I mean, zero-gravity environments have so many variables to exploit. Atmospheric composition, equipment failures, biological vulnerabilities, psychological factors, spatial awareness issues. It seemed wasteful to stop at 3 when there were so many more possibilities to explore. So many more, I repeated weakly. Plus, Marcus continued, apparently missing the trauma in my voice, I figured real combat situations don't come with multiple choice options. The more tools you have in your arsenal, literally and figuratively, the better prepared you are for unexpected scenarios. He wasn't wrong. Damn him, he wasn't wrong. That was the worst part. Vorfis scrolled further down the exam. You didn't even finish. Method 30 cuts off mid-sentence. Oh yeah. Marcus looked genuinely apologetic. I heard the instructor fall and got distracted. I was going to describe a technique involving emergency beacon frequencies and neural disruption, but then everyone started panicking and I figured maybe I should check if he was okay. How considerate. The human who'd just written a comprehensive guide to creative orbital homicide was worried about my health. Dr. Vrellix administered something that made my head feel less like it was full of angry insects. So what happens now? Do we fail him for writing too much? Vorfis was quiet for a long time, still staring at the tablet. Actually, he said slowly, according to Academy regulations, we have to grade based on accuracy and applicability. The question asked for viable methods. If these are all actually viable, they are, I admitted, hating every word. I checked 12 of them against tactical databases while you were unconscious monitoring. Every single one would work. Some are more efficient than others, but they'd all achieve the objective. The assistant dean looked at Marcus with an expression I couldn't quite identify. Fear? Respect? Perhaps both? Mr. Webb, you just submitted the most comprehensive answer to a combat theory question in Academy history. You've essentially written a tactical manual as an exam response. Marcus beamed. Humans do this thing where they show all their teeth when they're happy. It's unsettling at the best of times. Does that mean I passed? Passed? Vorfis laughed, a sound like grinding gears. Son, you got every single point available, plus extra credit we didn't even know existed. You also traumatized your instructor, violated several conventions on educational appropriateness, and probably got yourself flagged by 6 different security departments. So, is that good or bad? I pulled myself up on the medical bed, my system still shaky but functional. Webb, let me ask you something. How long did it take you to think of 30 ways to kill someone in zero gravity? The human considered this. About 11 minutes? I spent the first 4 minutes on the earlier questions. 11 minutes. He'd weaponized half the contents of a space station in 11 minutes. Vorfis stood up, straightening his uniform. Mr. Webb, you're going to be assigned additional psychological evaluations. Also, you're being transferred to advanced tactical studies. And please, for the love of all that exists, when they ask you to list 3 things, just list 3 things. Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Understood, sir. Should I delete methods 4 through 30 from my exam file? Absolutely not, Vorfis said quickly. That document is now classified material. We're sending it to the Strategic Warfare Division. They'll want to review your methodologies. As Marcus left, escorted by a very nervous-looking security officer, Dr. Vrellix leaned over to me. You know what the scariest part is? What? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. He looked disappointed that he only got to 30. Like he had more ideas but ran out of time. We sat there in silence, contemplating that terrifying truth. Humans, it turns out, are very good at finding creative solutions to problems. Especially when the problem is how to turn everyday objects into weapons. They call it ingenuity, the rest of the galaxy calls it deeply concerning that I call it the reason I now keep emergency medication in my desk drawer and never, ever ask open-ended questions on examinations anymore. Somewhere in the station, Marcus Webb was probably thinking of methods 31 through 50, just for fun that I needed a drink. A very strong drink, and maybe a career change.